Hi, my name is Leslie Hastings, and welcome to video number 1 in the Law of Attraction for Weight Loss series. I want to talk about the single greatest weight loss tool you have, and that is your mind. Much like the mind is the most powerful sexual organ in the body, and by this I mean that fantasy and imagination are responsible for way more orgasms than regular physical sex. The mind is the single greatest weight loss tool you have. There are a lot of really good law of attraction teachers out there. I know, that's how I know what I know. I've had some really good ones. But when it comes to weight loss, the body can be a really tricky thing. And I think it's important to have practical tools to use to try to implement this process successfully. I'm going to tell you a couple quick stories about me, just to let you know that I understand where you're coming from because I have been fat, and also to prove the law of attraction and how it works in both the negative direction and the positive direction. I battled my weight for approximately 35 years. It started when I was around 11 and went on from there. I have been in diet hell, I have been in fat hell, I have been in self-loathing hell, and I understand what you're going through. During that time, my fallback position as far as dieting went was usually a high-protein diet. Atkins is the one that's most commonly known. And about 7 years ago, I was fat again and miserable again, so I pulled out my old standby, Atkins. Now, I think I pulled off somewhat of a medical miracle. I managed to single-handedly defy the laws of physics by actually gaining weight while in ketosis. And I had the urine strips to prove it. Now, if you know anything about high-protein diets, you know that that's supposed to be impossible. However, in my case, guess what? For the first time in my life, high protein wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. If you know anything about the law of attraction, you know that obviously I had so much negative energy running at that time that it wouldn't have mattered what I did. It wouldn't have mattered if I stood on my head and spit nickels. I had so much negative energy running that it wouldn't have mattered. There was absolutely nothing I could have done to lose weight at that point in time. On the other side of the stick, after that happened, I said, look, there's got to be something else going on here because what happened here is supposed to be impossible. So I set out on a mission to really figure out what that was. And that's when I came across the teachings of Abraham-Hicks and started learning about energy theory. Once I did, I set out to prove that these concepts were valid. So I designed a science experiment. I used myself as a human lab rat. And here were the rules. I had to keep my diet exactly where it was at the time, which was basically eating everything in sight because I was really depressed that I was fat and Atkins had failed and blah, 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 blah. So my diet had to remain constant. The only exercise I was getting at the time was walking my dogs, so that had to stay the same. I wasn't allowed to increase that or decrease that. I didn't take any supplements or any of that stuff. So the only thing that was left that I could change was my mind. And in about, call it 5 months or so, I dropped about 20 to 25 pounds using nothing but thought. I did not change my diet. I did not change my exercise routine. All I did was change my thinking in relationship to food, weight, diet, exercise, self-image, all the things that we know go into lining up your energy. And I did manage to use nothing but thought to drop that weight. So I've been able to prove this theory in both directions, which is pretty amazing. I have also turned from being one of those people who could just look at food and gain weight into one of those people who can eat whatever I want, whenever I want it, and have a body I am proud of. I never thought in a million years I would ever be able to say that. It is such a miracle. And if you can get your hands around this process and start implementing some of these things in your life, you will not believe the results you're going to get. And the freedom that I have today is astronomical. My whole life used to revolve around food and weight and self-hate and self-loathing and all those awful things that go with being caught in a food addiction nightmare. And I am here to tell you that the body wants to help you. And I'm also here to tell you that the mind is so much more powerful than any kind of behavior you can do on the outside. And, look back at those stories I just told you. I proved it when I defied the laws of physics on Atkins. And I proved it again when I did no behavior changes of any kind, changed my mind only, and managed to lose weight. So I am proof positive that this works in both directions. So if you have any doubt that the theory itself works, get that out of your mind. The key here, of course, is to understand how to do this properly. And there's some tips and tricks and all kinds of things that I'm going to give you to try to make this process as easy, as painless, and as fast as possible. All right, so let's dive right in. The first thing that anybody needs to do if you want to change something is identify what it is that you want to change. So the first thing that I recommend is to become an observer of your own mind. Think about what you think about. And the main topics to concentrate on, obviously, are food, weight, diet, food categories, self-worth, self-image. Is it safe for you to be happy? All the things. Look at all the thoughts and all the beliefs you have that really kind of make you feel icky. If you're a student of the law of attraction, you focus on the negative and you get negative results. So we need to identify what those negative thoughts are that we're programming our minds with so we can change them. Because I don't care who you are, if you don't know something needs to be changed, you can't change it. So the first thing is to become an observer of your own mind. And I'll tell you, when I started doing this, I noticed a couple of things. Number one, all right, 90% of what I was thinking during the day was negative. And because I was fat, that's mostly what I thought about. So, of course, most of my thoughts revolved around that, and I felt awful most of the time. The second thing that happened is that I noticed that everything I believed about myself or food or diet or calories or any of that stuff, I'd learned from somebody else, okay? People pass their beliefs down. And when we don't examine our beliefs, we tend to think they're facts, and they're not facts. Beliefs are opinions, and opinions can be changed. Very important concept right there, okay? Here's an example of that. Carbohydrates are bad. So if you eat carbohydrates, you're going to get fat. Well, if that were a fact, that would be true for everybody. And it's not. Look around. There are people that eat plenty of carbohydrates and stay skinny. That is an opinion or a belief. So you need to take a look at that. The other thing I noticed when I started watching my mind was that it bored me to tears because I was thinking the same thing all the time. And it was negative. And, I would go through my day and I was just beating myself to a pulp. I would see something and go, oh, wow, what a pretty sunrise. Too bad you're fat, Leslie, and ugly and worthless. And, so I'm going, obviously the wrong way. And 90% of my day was spent like that. So when you start watching your mind, I think you'll be surprised because I really thought I was a pretty positive person. I really did. But when I really started paying attention to what I was thinking about, I realized that I had this programming going on that was anything but positive. So that happy face that you saw actually wasn't real. I thought it was, but it wasn't. I had all this stuff going on in the background that I had just learned to stick a happy face sticker on and continue on, grin and bear it sort of a thing. So become a student of your own mind and start writing this stuff down. Okay. And I think it will surprise you And then it'll really surprise you how much garbage you have running around in your head that wasn't even your idea to begin with. And the important thing here is to remember that, before we can change anything, we have to identify what it is that needs to be changed. So start making a list, all right, of all the negative stuff, all the beliefs around food and weight and diet and calories and chocolate is bad and ice cream is bad and carbohydrates are bad and fat is bad and I am bad and I don't deserve a good life and so-and-so did me wrong. And, all the things that make you feel icky are the thoughts that are keeping you fat. So let's become aware. Let's just become aware of what's going on. And once we're aware, then we know what we're dealing with and we know where we can step in and make some changes.